Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with, I don't really know what I'm here with actually. It's a bit of a happy mail, it's a bit of a product review, it's a bit of a video on my watercolour journal, it's a bit of everything. Anyway, let's give you a bit of a reason why this video is here. Okay, as you know, I've started sharing with you my journey of watercolours, and this is my art journal that I put my watercolours in. It's a small journal because my pieces are small. I think in the last video I did the bugs in the last video. Yeah, I think I did these in the last video. I'll put a link to it in the description box below if you're interested. I have done other ones, as you can see, just stuff I'm playing with, trying to get that delicate feel. I'm almost there, but not quite. So, and actually remember that image because I'm going to be talking about that later. So I've been trying to get to grips with it. Now I've sort of found out a lot of the things I'm doing are down to the paper I'm using, down to the brushes I'm using. I've actually now bought a pad of watercolour paper to use. I was at a craft show last week and actually bought myself some decent watercolour brushes which will only be used for watercolour moving forward. However, the last stumbling block was the watercolours I bought a long time ago were just cheap as chips watercolour, and I'm struggling because they're not giving me what I wanted. Anyway, so the video I'm going to link below, one of the people who watched it was one of the representatives of Paul Rubens' group and part of the sub-brand of MEILIANG. So they reached out to me and said, Ceri, we'd love you to try our watercolour set. Would you be interested? We'd like to gift you a set to see whether it helps you on your journey. I thought, thank you very much. Yes, I will do that because it would be an opportunity. And I also want to share it with you. So this arrived through the post about 4 days ago, and as some of you may know, I'm actually just getting over a cold, so this is the first chance I've seen it. I haven't opened it, as you can see, so I want to open it up, take a look, probably swatch one or two of the colours, then I'm going to pause the video and go away and swatch all of them, because seriously, you do not need to see me swatching 52 colours. And then I'll come back and then I've got a little project that I'm going to do, which I can share with you as well, just to see how they feel as I play with them and work my way along. So, right, let me just get a craft knife and I just want to open this packaging. So, I don't know why, but I always feel happier using a knife than I do a scissors. It's just the way I am, I think. It'd be good if that wasn't rolling around my desk, though. So, 52 colours in this set. Now, apparently, previously, they have a 48 colour set. They have a 36 colour set, both called Pretty Excellent Watercolours. This is their upgraded 52 set, and it comes in purple and it comes in blue. Now it's weird, this one I don't quite understand. Some countries only have the blue selection, that's the box, not and the container. Some people only have the purple collection, some people can get both. It's so anyway, in the links below, I'm going to give you a whole load of links in the description box which will share with you links for different countries and different places. And it's actually November at the moment, and in a few days time apparently it's Black Friday. I always miss the Black Friday sales, and I believe this set is going to be on sale in the Black Friday sale. So depending on what you feel about it, it may be an opportunity to get yourself a set. So just going to open this up without destroying the box, I hope. Not meant for fat fingers, obviously. There you go, got it out. So right, keep that to one side because I always like to keep the box just in case I need to reference it for some reason. So, lovely colour baby blue box. It's a tin, it's quite lightweight. I would travel with this, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm travelling at the moment with my little ones, and as they don't hold a lot of colours, I'm a bit limited, so very happy with that. Now, I've been told in this box I'm going to have 40 Premier colours, 10 Macron colours, 2 metallic colours, a pencil for drawing, a paintbrush, a sponge, 10 pieces of watercolour paper, and a black water-resistant pen. That's a good deal. Now, I'm not going to quote prices at this point, guys, because it'll depend on where you are geographically, I'm sure, with the translation of prices as to what's what. Okay, now right, so this has to lift out, I'm assuming, to be able to access what's below it. Okay, so mixing tray. It's a nice deep mixing tray. Happy about that. So let's take a look. So I've got a water resistant pen. Is there a width on this? It says it's 0.5. Right, I like 0.5 for detail. Okay, 0.5. Let's put that to one side because I'll be using that later, hopefully. A drawing pencil. Well timing, because this is my drawing pencil currently. You can see how much I use it. So that's a good one. Yep, happy about it. What's soft? Oh, it is quite soft. That's okay. It's a H. It says hard. That feels quite soft to me. Happy about that. A paintbrush. That's fairly soft. That feels like it would retain its point. Let's put in some water and have a little look. Yeah, that would retain its point. I'm okay with that. I mean, I've got big hands, which is why I like big paintbrushes. So, but that's okay. That's almost pen-shaped. I like this on the end. Don't know why I like that on the end of it. Right, so I'll put that with the paintbrushes over there and a sponge. And the sponge is just basically for sucking stuff up, mopping stuff up. Now, I'm not going to retain this. You could put it back in there for storage all the time. I'm not going to because I'll be using the palette. And once I've actually finished with all of this set, I will just put everything straight back in there. And that's, in all honesty, that's how I would store it. So I'm not going to mislead anyone into thinking I'll be using this. This will go into my plastic recycling. That's easily done. Right. Open up. How do I open this up? I'm challenged this morning. Okay. Right, so this is all 52 colors, gold and silver in it. I'm liking that already. Okay, now if there's one thing I do know, so I'm folding it so it lays flatter. If there's one thing I do know about these sheets, traditionally they're not 100% representative of the colors, which is why I always like to color swatch. What I do like on here though is how it's got the opacity or transparency or semi-transparent. You've got it all the way down there and it gives you at a glance what those are. Okay, I'll let you take a screenshot if you really need to read all of those. I try to keep these things. I don't tend to bin them. They always stay with the set because they're useful. Right, this is the swatch sheet. So basically, does it match this one? Yes, it does. So what I will do is we'll do a couple of swatches. I'll choose a couple of colors and do 2 swatches, say, and then I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back and I'll swatch the whole lot. So, right. It says there's 10 sheets of watercolor paper. Now, obviously, I don't know what quality water paper this is, but I would say if they're trying to sell a watercolor kit, they're hardly going to be putting watercolor paper in that's not going to make the watercolors look good. So this is quite generous to have a kit of watercolor already. It's not smooth, it's textural. Oh gosh, I'm going to get this wrong, aren't I? Is it the cold press? I've just looked at my pad and it says cold press. I think the cold press watercolor is the one that's got the texture to it. And I think the hot press is the one that's smooth. Anyway, these are perfect for what I'm going to use them for. I've got a project really want to use those for. Loving that. Okay, and I'm liking the fact this has got a film over it, although I'd like to be able to pick it up. Sorry, I always cut my nails, don't I? Right. Come on, up you come. Right, that's a nice touch, having something to cover these up. Although I do know through your lovely comments, subscribers, that if I wet these on any colour palette, which I will wet these, I should let them fully dry out before I close the lid and store them again. So I will keep this and I'll put it back on there, but only when it's fully dried out. So now I have watched other reviews of these and I'm okay with the colours. They look really nice. Obviously proof is going to be in the using. What I will say is what I've heard is that they're quite a shallow pan. They're not a full pan, a half pan. They're a little shallower than normal. But to be honest with you, the amount of watercolouring I do, that's going to last me a long while anyway. I don't know whether you can get refills for these. I'd have to do a little more digging to find that. I'm not actually sure whether you do get refills or just buy another tin. I don't mind buying another tin. I quite like this tin. So, right, that gives me a wide expanse. Now, how am I laid out for colours? Right, so this doesn't match the layout of that, or does it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so that must be that. That must be that. That must be that. That must be that. I know it's picky, but I'd rather this line was this line, this line was this line, this line was this line, and this line was this. But that's just me and my OCD wanting to line stuff up. So at least I'll know where to be able to find the paints. So I'm obviously not going to do a swatch of white with you guys here, because you're not going to see white here. Now, if there's one thing I have learnt from my subscribers, and that is if you just miss the whole tin, it will start things being activated enough for me to work with. So whether they'll stay wet enough long enough, that's a whole other thing. But that water is now just sitting on the surface and beginning to sink in. I've got 2 glasses of water here, or 2 containers of water, one to keep my brush clean and one to add new water. So I think we need to just go on with this, really. So, right. So champagne, which is that colour. I'll put that there. Maybe you can see the whole process and follow it. Ooh, that was a good move, wasn't it, Griffiths? You just sprayed the table as well, and now everything is going to be wet. That's fine. I'm sure I'm not going to have a problem. Right, so if I do that with that, you'll be able to see everything. Right, I'm just going to come in with the paintbrush they supplied, and I'm going to pull in a few of the colours. I think I'm going to start with the dark green down here, purely because you're more likely to see the dark green. Okay, they are really quite heavily pigmented. That's a good thing. Now, obviously, you can mix the colours. I mean, I'm not going to show that because I'm pretty much not an expert on that. So this is the olive green. Let's have a look at the olive green. It's quite a dark olive green, isn't it? So there's a good intensity of colour in that. Quite a nice colour. Let's go up. What's the next one? Lime green. Lime green. I like lime green. Lime green. Well, they certainly have enough pigment in them. Okay, now I'm just putting these on here. I'm not intending for them to do a wicking out, a bleed, a fade. I just want to see that the colour I'm seeing is the colour I'm getting. So let's do one more clean brush. Let's do, what's this one? This is the yellow green. It's funny because the yellow green looks lighter than the lime green. So let's just do a little bit of that. Okay, there is definitely a colour difference between the two of them. Right, I think what we're going to do now, well not we, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause you. I'm going to do the whole swatch thing. I'm going to let it completely dry because that will give me a truer representation of what the colours truly are. And then we'll come back and then we'll work on that little project I was talking about, which won't take a long time. It's just something I like to do. And I thought it'd be good to take you along on the journey. It also gives me a bit of an experience of what these paints will really do. So bear with me. I'll be back in 2 seconds, guys. So all swatched, and the first impression, now you've got to remember, guys, I'm coming at this as someone who knows very, very little about watercolour. So I don't know about pigment, or I don't know what watercolor is made from. It's obviously a pigment on a water, and maybe there's some binders or gums involved, something. So I literally do not know, and I'm exactly who this is aimed at, someone who's starting out on the journey. If I have anything to say immediately, MEILIANG, I think you need to redo that, because These colours are so much more intensive in real life than they are here. There's a real depth of colour here. Now, I literally just painted a block. I don't know what about the wicking or the bleeding or the spreading out, which we're going to do in my little project anyway. There's one or two colours I was a bit like, not sure I agree with that. So let's see which was it. This said dark brown. That's not dark brown as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, it just seemed too light to be dark brown. To me, that just looked like terracotta. It's interesting, I didn't know there was such a thing as coal black. I've seen ivory black, but never coal black, so I'm quite interested in that. The gold and the silver are exactly what I expected, because it said they're semi-transparent. They are semi-transparent, but when you look, there's quite a good sheen to that. I mean, I didn't work any harder at it than any other of the colours. I literally spritzed it, got a wet paintbrush, rubbed it on the surface, picked up the pigment and put it on here. If there is one thing that I think feels a little peculiar, and it could be because that's just the way it is, some of these feel a bit sticky when I first put my paintbrush with water on them, and I don't know if that's how they're supposed to feel, because as I said, I've only had really inexpensive sets in the past, so I don't know how watercolour in pan form is really supposed to feel, but I'm happy with that. That has given me so much wider variety. Now, obviously, you can mix to your heart's delight. I mean, if you know your colour wheel, you could easily make, well, if you haven't got it there, you can make it. I did end up testing the white. I don't know whether that's going to pick up very much on the camera. And I always test the white on something white, purely because not all whites are created equal. Some are brilliant whites, some like the titanium whites are really quite white as well. Some whites err on the side of cream in some colours. Some whites have a sort of grey or a chalkiness to them, but I'm quite happy with that. I don't use white that often in watercolour, because I'm trying not to use white, because I think that if I want to highlight, I either need to leave it or I need to pick it back up again. This little brush, just be warned, holds a lot of water. I was really quite shocked when I was mixing the paint how much water was in these bristles. So be aware when you're using this. This is what I would call a true water brush, as it holds a lot of volume. Like this brush I bought here last week at the craft show, the guy who sold it to me said it is meant to hold water and suck water back up when you're lifting colour off, and this one feels very much similar. I was very happy with it. It maintained its point all the way through. So right, let's keep that to hand. Let's put this one to one side because that will stay with everything, but I'll probably refer to this before I refer to this. So, what's that little project I want to do? Okay, I'll try and move stuff to give me some space. Okay, you saw in my little journal, my art journal, I painted a feather. I really like painting feathers, although I find it quite difficult to... I'm not someone who draws with a pencil incredibly well. I can see it in my mind, I can't translate it here. So I will normally find the real object, as I did with the feather here. I laid it on my page and I drew around the feather. Or I find techniques where I'll take a photograph, then trace a photograph. So what I did is, I live in a city, capital city, Principality of Wales, and there's always birds. So I have collected feathers that I have found as I've been walking around. I've been collecting them for a while because I do use feathers as well. Sometimes I paint directly on the feather. Sometimes I'll use a feather on my gel plate when I do gel printing. So anyway, I collected the feathers. I'm just telling you the process. I don't need to show you the process. I then laid them on my photocopier and photocopied them. Now, the downside was the white feather didn't show up so well. So what I did, and the tip of this one didn't show up so well. So I came in with some ink, and I just brushed the end with some ink so it had more of a definition. And with this one, I tried that, but it actually didn't have enough colour still to actually be picked up. So what I did is I re-photocopied it. Then I put the photocopy under some tracing paper and I traced them all. So as you can see, where am I? Where I put the ink at the end of the feather, it definitely gave me more of an outline. I went round this with the pencil just so that I knew I had it. I put it under here, and what I've done now is I've created myself a template for now and evermore until I decide I don't want to use it anymore, of feathers. I drew around this with pencil, and now I can just trace this onto my watercolor paper and I can paint feathers. So I thought, right, what we're going to do is I think we're going to paint 2 feathers today, just because I don't want this video to be a million miles long, as it could be, because I can get carried away. So I'm just going to choose 2 feathers that I like, and then we're just going to paint those up. So I've just turned this over so that the pencil side is downwards. Now I'm going to use the pencil that came with the kit, now with the paint box. Now I don't want to press too hard. I want barely a marking to come through this. Now what I might do for myself is, I think after this video is done, I might go over this entire thing with a black marker. Why can't I draw today? With a black marker, and then I've got a permanent template that I can just, maybe I'll scan it and put it onto my computer so that if I ever want feathers again, I don't have to run around the streets trying to find feathers, or the park, or wherever I did it. I can't draw a straight line today, guys, but thank goodness I don't need to, because the line's on the other side. So I don't know whether you can see that, but I was really quite light. I just want the faint outline, because eventually I'm going to go around this with the black pen when it's actually finished. That's 1 feather. Let's choose another feather that's quite a cute shape. Do I want that one, or do I want, how big is this piece of, oh, I could just get that on there. Shall I do the big one? Let's do the big one. It fits on here. What I might do is I might give it a haircut at the bottom. So just coming around. So this is something you can do. I've done this with leaves before now. So in the autumn, when I'm trying to create leaves for autumn artwork, what I do is I'll go out and get a few leaves and put them on my photocopier, which is just part of my printer, to be honest. And then I will have an outline of a leaf for me to work in. Now, I normally work in acrylics. I do occasionally work in inks. I'm not usually a person who uses a lot of ink, because it's a medium I'm not overly familiar with. I use it to create backgrounds sometimes, but acrylic paints are normally my go-to. Right, so I've got a really faint outline yet again. I want faint. So this could go back into my storage. I'm happy with this. This is quite a nice pencil. I like the way I did sharpen it. I didn't sharpen it, it came sharpened, so that's there. Right, I think I want to stick these down on a piece of tile. I use this tile only because I've got this tile. I'm going to space them far enough apart so that as we're working, because I'm going to do 2, so that when one is drying, I can work on the other one. Right, I've got some low-tack tape here, just low-tack masking tape that I bought off the internet, because that way it's not going to tear up the edges of my watercolor paper. I'm taping this down pretty much because if, as I'm painting, the paper gets wet and wants to curl on me or warp, this will just hold it in place. I mean, I don't know this paper whatsoever. I don't know what weight it is. As I said, I think it's cold pressed by the look of it, but I don't truly know. Just put a bit top and bottom. I'm not planning to frame the whole thing out. I just want to play. That should be enough. Right, fold over the end, or I'll be driven nuts by not being able to find the end again. So the first thing I want to do is I want to start coming in. I want to create some sort of wash. So let's pull the palette in. Now, what can you see? Okay, you can see quite a bit, so we're okay there. So I'm going to pull in some water into one of these little reservoirs. I could use a pipette, if I could find a pipette, which is somewhere over here maybe. There you go, I knew I had one somewhere. Right, a pipette, I just buy these online. I think they come from China. They're cheap as chips. I buy them in a reasonably big batch, and to be honest, I'll be using the same batch for years, because once you've used them, you can just wash them out again. So, right, I want some sort of base colour. Let's see, what colours should we do? I quite like this range of colours here. That cobalt tea is rather beautiful. So maybe we'll do one with a sort of greenish wash. Now this is basic. Well, that's very, very pigmented, isn't it? Right, this is, what is this? This is grass green. Right, I'm just going to come in. I'm going to do a wash on here. And I'm literally just wetting the page. I'm going to use my to damp. You can see that this holds a lot of moisture, this brush. Now I'm kind of leaving the central piece where the stem of the feather is. I'm leaving that dry because I don't want it bleeding across there, but knowing me with my colours, it could go all over the place. Right, so I've got wet there. Now I know that the paper is going to be soaking this up, so I'm going to give it a bit of a second coat I want to be able to have my paints wick or bleed out when I put them on, because that's the effect I'm looking for. As I said, this is a project you can do with anything that you can pretty much photocopy. Right, I wanted the cobalt tea, didn't I? Take a little bit of help if I had water on my brush. A little bit of the cobalt tea. I think I just come in from the top and add a bit to the top. This brush holds so much water, which is brilliant, but not when I'm not ready for it, it's not. Right, let's just take that down a little bit there. Right, I'm just going to let that sit and do its thing. If there's one thing I have learned, it's don't mess with the paint. Once it's down, leave it down and it's done. Right, there was a Viridian Green, which I think was the third one down, which is this colour. I really like this colour. It's like a really intense teal. Let's take some of that off my brush. I'm just going to drop this down here. And hopefully it will bleed up. Now, of course, if I want to take anything out, I could come in with my sponge and dab it out. I tend to use kitchen paper or kitchen towel, which is this one here. I like the way that's wicking through there. And by wicking, I mean it's bleeding along the lines. I think I'd quite like to add another colour in here, actually. Now, there's a colour called newcomer, which is a colour I've never heard of before. It's a very, very bright yellow. It's that sort of colour, which I've suddenly turned lime green, and that's because I had a dirty brush. I forgot to dip in the other one. I'm talking about this colour here, so I think I'll just get a little bit of that. To add a little bit of a highlight in here for me. Right, let's see whether this brush will pick up. So I've dried my brush off a bit, and hopefully it's absorbing that. It does pick up. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm just wondering what the capabilities of the brush are. Okay, so that one's on the go. Right, let's just, how am I going to do this? Right, let's just move this over. You can see I'm not used to doing this, can't you? Well, not in this space anyway. Right. I've got the feathers inside. We'll leave the other one to be drying. I think I want to come in. And now what were the colours over here? I'm thinking of some sort of pink. Let's do the pink rose, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, it's that colour there. So let's get some of that up. Now, remembering that this is a real intense pigment palette, I'm just going to be a little more cautious with my colours. That's the struggle I have when it comes to doing watercolours, is I sort of paint with an acrylic mindset. I tend to put too much colour on when actually what I'm trying to achieve with my watercolours is that it's a lot more soft. I don't know why, I just wish this handle was a bit longer. It just feels a bit weird, but I'm a guy with big hands. I mean, so I think I'd be tempted to use this for doing art on the go when I'm out traveling. But I think at home, I think I'd probably use a brush that's got a longer handle to it, because I don't know why I'm finding this a little bit difficult. Could just be I'm having a weird day. Right, so I've got that colour down. Right, I quite like the deep purple, which is the second to the bottom, which is that colour. So I like this to be down here. As you can see, the pigments are really strong in these paints. So I'm just going to leave that there. Let it do its thing, Griffiths. Don't mess with it. Right, I think I'm going to put some gold in here in a minute, but I want something down here. So if I've got purple, let's try that rose there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I know it seems weird that I'm counting colours, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure I get the right colours until I'm used to this. And then, of course, it will be very different. I will just be reaching for the colours because I will know them by the time I use them next. I do like the point on this brush. Right, it's beginning to dry out a bit. So I think what I need to do is just reactivate this line a little. I think I'm going to come in and just lift that off there and actually use the original colour. I don't mind pulling that up. I think I could have done with having a little more of the wash on here first of all. But as I said, guys, I am a beginner. I'm learning from the comments you guys are leaving me. It's like having an entire band of teachers out there, to be honest with you. And you're being very generous with your knowledge. Thank you. Right, now I wanted to put some gold in here. Now the gold, put it a light little bit here. I know the gold is going to be quite light, so I may have to give it 2 coats, and I can only do that when it's fully dried out. It's hard trying to judge how much is still in the brush. Right, I think I'm going to turn this on an angle, it'll be easier for me. I think I want to put a bar of gold in across here. Now, I don't mind if the gold doesn't bleed out. That's quite pretty, isn't it? I wonder whether I should do that on the other one. Maybe we can just put a little bit of gold in this one, just to give it that little bit of opulence. Okay, I can see already, because this one's dry, that the paint goes on quite a lot easier here. Let's put a little bit of gold in that direction as well. Obviously, these are fantasy feathers, guys. Don't go after me saying, there's not a feather out there that looks like that. I know there's not a feather that looks like this. I mean, Unless you're of the world of Harry Potter with the magical mystical beasts, I don't think we're going to see some of these feathers anywhere. Right, I'm liking where it's going. I like the bleed. This down here, I do feel would have been better if I'd have had more water on the background to start with. So I'm going to see whether I can reactivate that slightly. Yes, I can. Okay, that's a good bit of news. So I'm just going to get clear water here and just encourage that to spread a little bit. Okay, we're doing well there. Sorry, the palette is getting further and further away from me, but that's just because I'm working. Right. Now, I haven't actually thought of doing anything in the background on these, and I'm wondering whether I need to do something. Now, I have to be careful because if I put any wet up against these, it's going to wick straight out. A little bit I missed by there. I like some of the colours I've got here, and I'm wondering whether I could do some splatters. Right, let's just pick up some of these. I'm just going to put my hand over the feather. Okay, that'll please me. Let's pick up some of that red or the pink. And some of the purple. There you go, that just gives me something in the background. I just happen to splash that all over there. Let's see if I can lift some of that out. Now I should be able to. Just adding a little bit of shading in there. I don't mind that. Yeah, I'm always very envious of people who can do those absolutely delicate watercolor paintings of botanicals and stuff like that. And I look at that and I think, you know, one day I'm going to be able to do that. But as with everything, I wasn't born being able to paint. I had to learn. So I learned to drive. I can learn, and I learned to cook. I learned to do laundry. I learned to do ironing. I learned to manage a vacuum cleaner. I learned to be an adult. I can learn to do this. Right. So what do we want to do about the stem? Now, I'm really tempting fate here because these are wet. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up a little bit of the white. Can you see what I'm doing here? Just a little bit. Actually, let's push these up so you can actually see what I'm doing. Right, I've got some white and I've got cream here. I think I'm going to pull in, what was this colour? Champagne yellow it's called. I want there to be something. It doesn't have to be a solid colour of any sort. Okay, I think that colour would work actually. I was going to add a little white to it, but I think that's going to be okay. Let's see what a touch of white will do to that. Yeah, maybe a touch of white was a good idea. Okay, I think what I need to do, because I'm very conscious that I don't want colours to run, I'm going to turn you off for 2 seconds and I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer. So all back again. The only thing I did do is I did give this gold just one more coating because it was dry anyway, so I thought quickly put another coating on there. You didn't need to see me do that. So I'm just going to come in now with this colour, this really pale colour I've got here. Should take a lot of stuff off my brush, so it's just the paint. And what I want to do is I just want to paint the stem of, or the core of this in. Note to self, be aware it does reactivate really quite quickly, which is not a problem. I like the fact that it reactivates. I just needed to have remembered that when I was doing it. So there's a really nice point to this brush though. I think that's all I want to do to those. Right. Now I think I just want to come in and there's a little bit of a line there. I just want to catch the edge of. We've just done exactly what I said I shouldn't do, which was wet next to wet, didn't I? That's okay, I'm okay with that. Okay, so really basic stuff. So findings so far. I'm loving the brush. That's a really nice brush. It holds a lot of water. I like the way you look. I haven't even touched the end of it and immediately goes back to a point. I do have a habit, however, as I tend to rotate my hand as I dry it off on something. Loving the brush. I will put it with all of my other brushes, which will hopefully fit in this case. Yes, they will. Loving that. So all my paintbrushes can be in one area. I like the pencil. The pencil was good. I could come in and erase it if I needed to, but I'm probably not going to. I didn't use the sponge, but that's because currently I don't need to use the sponge. So what I'm going to do is, if you don't mind, we're going to stop you for a few seconds, because what I want to do is I want to get rid of the dirty water over here before I drop it, knock it off, whatever. I'm going to dry these. I'm going to take the tape off so we've got them on our own. And then once they're dry, I can actually go in with this pen and we can have some fun and see whether I can really make them pop off the page. So bear with me. 2 seconds for you, a little bit longer for me. So here we are, guys. Back again. They're nice and dry. The papers didn't warp, or very little anyway, no more than I would expect any other papers to dry. They kept their intensity of colour. The gold is there, loving that. They did wick really nicely. That's a really nice blend on that one. It's down to user error. It's me because I'm not yet used to playing with that whole wicking effect or the way that the paint spreads. I'm on a learning journey and that's why I take you along with me. Right, so I'm going to bring in, where's that? I'll put something down a second. There's that eraser or the rubber. I just want to take off. I can just see the lines on the side of this one. I just want to take those out. Now, I actually do quite like the watercolor paper as well. I normally use cold press, basically because it's the one I've got. But it was good. It was good. Right, I'm happy so far with these. Right, I'm just going to bring in this marker now. If I have any concern whatsoever, and I'm just basing this on experience, watercolor paper, sometimes when you put a pigment onto it, will bleed or feather. No pun intended, but feather out. I'm hoping that doesn't happen with this. So, but if it does, it's a learning curve for me. Let's start on the little one first, just because now hopefully I can do this in line. Now I'm struggling a little bit because I'm trying to look through an iPad and do this at the same time. Not my normal way of decorating something with a pen, so bear with me if it's not the straightest lines in the world. Doing what we can. Right, around the outside. Now this is just a basic little exercise that I'm doing just to learn the colours, learn their intensity, learn how they work. I'll come back and do some details in a second on that. And that was my intent on these. I am going to be sharing my watercolour journey with you because a lot of you have asked me to do so. But as long as you always keep in mind that I'm not a watercolourist naturally. I'm just trying to find a way to get that beautiful look that I see other people achieving. If there is one person I would say, there's a website, a YouTube channel out there called The Creative Cove, and it's Michelle Sharp, and she does loose watercolor work, and I love her stuff. So look her up, and it's called The Creative Cove. Go and check her out. She's got some lovely stuff on her channel. She does some beautiful work. If I could even achieve half the delicate look that she has, I would be more than happy. Now, I could refer to my original drawings or pictures of this, but the original feathers were purely there as a means of me getting the shape and the proportions right for what I was creating. Let's leave that to one side a second. I like to outline those two. Now, there are natural pieces where a feather would pull in. I'm not trying to be absolutely perfect or literal. I am literally just trying to create something that I find pleasing to my eye. Now, where this fade didn't work very well, I think I'm going to put another stripe in there. Just because I can. I seem to remember there were a few little nicks in there. I think I might put some stripes down here. I love it when something inspires you and then you own it and then you take it away on its own little journey. I like doing that. Right, come back to this one. I think I want to put something in here. Just a little bit of doodling, just getting some detail in these. Just because, why not? So what would I say about the set? I would recommend it, definitely recommend it. If you're like myself and you're on a journey of discovery with watercolors, seriously, 52 colors, they're really intense. And there's some really good stuff in the tin with it. Like, I mean, we've done all this project only using what's in the tin, what came with it. And I love that. This one, do I want to do something in there? I do. Right, let's see if Ceri can draw some lines. Goodness knows, not known for my straight lines. I am trying though, I'm trying to do a version of Zentangle just to get my hand into the habit of patterns and drawing and accuracy. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. But I'm trying to let go of my perfectionism and actually really enjoy the journey that I'm on. Sorry, just having a thoughtful moment. I think we're going to leave those as is. This one feels a bit bare to me though. Let's see if I can do something about that up here. Yeah, I think we'll live with that. Okay, right. So we've had a go. I played with them. As with all my work, I always say you should always sign your art because it's important. You've created it. We've created this. We haven't used a rubber stamp, and I love painting rubber stamps. We haven't used a rubber stamp. We've done it from scratch, all the way from the real feather, all the way to the real piece. Loving that. It was just a little exercise to actually see, but let's do a really quick review. So 52 colours. 52 colours in here. You had 48 colours. No, you had 40 primary colours. You had 10 macarons or macaroons, which I think must be the pastel type ones. You had the gold and the silver. You had the pencil, the paintbrush, the marker we've just used, plus a sponge. We had 10 pieces of watercolour paper, which I can assure you I will definitely be putting to use. And I can't say how much I really enjoyed that paintbrush. That was a nice little thing to do. I like the swatch card idea because, to be honest with you, I actually think this is far more accurate than this, but I love both of them and they will stay in the box with me as well as a constant reminder so I know what we're looking at. This is pretty much dry now, so I can just lay that over the top, which just protects it, and bang, close it up. Great little travel watercolour kit. I could throw that in my luggage with no problem whatsoever. I think I'd probably even put this in my hand luggage because there's nothing sharp. No one's going to take that off me at the airport, or if they do, I want to know why. Right, so that's a good one. Oh, I did want to do one more thing with this. Right, I've just got a black marker. This is a Posca marker. And what I want to do is I'm just going to run the nib along the edges of the paper. And you may not think it does a lot, but it does actually just frame out the edges. I will sometimes do this with a metallic as well, a gold or a silver, or if I've got something like a Christmas red or something. It just, I mean, I don't know whether you can see that, but it just gives it that little bit of finish. And then I would probably mount these on something. These will probably just go into my little art journal, as you've seen. So really big thank you to Paul Rubens and to MEILIANG. Thank you for helping me along on my journey. I was so pleased to actually be sent a set of these watercolour paints. And I tell you now, these are probably going to be featured in every single watercolour project we do going forward, because they're just there. They're so bright and colourful. I still have my other sets, but as we know, I was slightly disappointed with those. But I love the colour range in here. I love what I was able to achieve with them. It's a fabulous gift. Seriously, we've got Christmas hurtling towards us. We've got Black Friday in a couple of days' time. I will put all the links below. I think MEILIANG have actually sent it as per countries in some of the instances, so you'll have the right things to go through. I believe Instagram, MEILIANG actually has an Instagram account as well. That's a good thing to look at. I will put as much info in the box as I can. They did tell me that they will be going on sale in the Black Friday sale, so make sure you check that out. This is a great gift for somebody, guys. If you know someone who's just wanting to explore a new hobby, that's a good one. If you've got a creative child and you want to buy them a special Christmas present or Hanukkah present or whatever it is, that's a good set. As I said, it does come in blue, it does come in purple, but not all countries can get both colours. Still don't understand that one, but that's just me. So thank you once again, MEILIANG. Thank you very much, Paul Rubens, for reaching out to me. It was an absolute pleasure, and I'm going to have fun with this kit. Thank you. So I'm Ceri Griffiths, that's Ceri, the crafter, and we'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye, guys.